They see self-respect. They see emotional intelligence. They see refusing to repeat cycles over and over and over and over again. They don't stay where their light is dim. Gen Z, Gen Z, Gen Z. I'ma hold your hand when I say this, babies. Y'all are often labeled the sensitive, dramatic, or doing too much generation. But I'm going to challenge everyone. And I'm going to say, what if they're not soft? What if they're not doing too much? What if they are just being honest about what hurts? Even more than millennials, even more than Gen X, baby boomers and the silent generation, right? This generation is the generation that refuses to suffer in silence. And that makes people uncomfortable. People hate being uncomfortable, y'all. And if I can be honest with you, this is probably what we've been missing.
Welcome to Chirp Session, hosted by AC Thompson.
Welcome to the Chirp Session Weekly Diary, where we talk everything, even what some won't say. I'm your host, AC Thompson, and today, Gen Z, y'all are up to bat. All right, y'all. Generation Z, they were roughly born between 1997 and 2012, and they grew up in a world that never slowed down. There were social media, school lockdowns, global crisis, constant comparison, constant visibility, cyberbullying, all that, right? They didn't have the luxury of easing into adulthood either. And it's for opposite reasons than the millennials, right? They were exposed to everything early in life as little ones. And what they learned fast was mental health matters, boundaries are necessary, and peace is worth protecting. They already knew going into adulthood just how much peace mattered. So they started learning these things early, mainly because they were mentored by millennials, right? But they started learning these things earlier and they took a different approach. Gen Z didn't inherit optimism. These babies, they don't live in Delulu land. They inherited awareness. They inherited a peak in awareness, and it spikes conflict on a regular basis. People don't like it. It's because people don't like being uncomfortable. People don't like to take accountability. So let's talk about why Gen Z is labeled as too sensitive or too soft. This generation talks about anxiety. Our folks don't even think anxiety is real, right? Depression, burnout, identity, boundaries. And when I say they talk about it, it's loud, y'all. I mean, it's real loud. It's publicly and it's without apology. They're not going to apologize for letting their feelings and their thoughts be known. The pain they feel is not getting whispered. They will name it, they gonna frame it, and they gonna put it on your wall. You're gonna have to see it every single day. Now, to the generations that did survive by staying quiet, who didn't have the language, that can feel threatening, right? I don't like to call them soft. Personally, I don't. I think every generation that comes before the last or comes after the last generation thinks that younger generation is soft in some aspect, right? Gen Z, oh, they got loud. They got real loud about what's not working. Y'all, this ain't working for me. This is not going to work for me, right? That makes that makes people uncomfortable. That takes some umph. That takes some courage. And we're talking about courage, and each generation has courage in their own right, but that takes a lot of courage. And Gen Z has a ton of that. These babies, they love quite differently, right? They prioritize emotional safety. They not putting up with the BS just because they comfortable, just because it feel good. They not putting up with it. Communication is important. Mutual respect, don't matter how old you are, it's important. Boundaries early. They know how to protect their bubble. And if you get too close to where they feel like you're going to pop it, they are going to set a boundary. You're not getting any closer. They will leave situations that don't align with their emotional and moral compass. And that's without waiting years to see if it gets better. No, we're not wasting time. They serious and they're about their business. They don't believe love should hurt to prove that it's real. And while that can look like avoidance to some people, to them it's self-preservation. They not getting wrinkles for nobody, y'all. They heart rate ain't going up for people. And this, my loves, is where generations clash. Older generations see this. They see quick exits. They see strong boundaries. They see less tolerance for discomfort. And they think, oh, they give up too easy for me, right? And Gen Z, this is what they see. They see self-respect. They see emotional intelligence. They see refusing to repeat cycles over and over and over and over again. They don't stay where their light is dimmed. They're not gonna dim their light for nobody. We can learn a lot from this younger generation, y'all. Gen Z is teaching us that peace is a priority, rest is productive, and pain and suffering aren't a requirement for success. I don't care what anyone says, you don't have to suffer to be successful. They ask questions that other generations didn't feel like they were allowed to ask. And they not romanticizing the struggle. They not having a candlelight dinner with struggle, y'all. They interrogate it and it's going under the light. Seriously. Gen Z is not broken people. They not soft. Ain't nothing wrong with them. They're just unwilling to inherit pain and do so quietly. They are the generation of boundaries. They care more than we give them credit for. And they care deeply, actually. That's why they're so passionate in what they say and what they believe. So let's pull out our diaries and let's answer this question together. What would change if you honored your limits the way that Gen Z does? What would change in your life if you honored your boundaries the way that Gen Z does? I'll tell you my answer. I would definitely be hurting a lot more feelings on a daily basis. A lot more feelings. Not to be rude, but because people hate to hear the truth. They hate being uncomfortable in the truth. And when you say it directly and without fluff, they start to fidget a little bit. They start to get defensive, right? As I said before, every generation heals differently. And Gen Z, y'all are healing out loud. Y'all are healing out loud. Next week, y'all, we're going to bring it all together. We will close out the generation series with trying to understand each other, not criticize each other, not blame each other, or have negative opinions on each other's approach. Every reaction has a cause. And next week, we're going to break it down. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe to Chirp Session via your favorite podcast platform. Follow Chirp Session on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and X for behind-the-scenes content and to join the conversation. Y'all, I love y'all. Thank y'all for tuning in. Gen Z, thank y'all for sitting with me during this episode. And hey, nothing but respect for y'all. We'll see y'all next week. Love y'all. Have a great week.
It's extremely hard in those
Host AC Thompson.
I want to put it's extremely hard in those moments.
Host AC Thompson.